I think we should just get started. They'll join in whenever they want to. No worries about that. Let's just get started. All right. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are talking about something extremely cool, something extremely special. Let's just hold on, give me a moment and I can just get my camera working and we can get started. Guys, there's been a slight issue. We've basically got a problem with the camera broadcasting to YouTube. Could you guys join in through the YouTube, because I don't think Meet is supporting this right now. I'll have it fixed for sure. So sorry for this whole fiasco. We'll just get it fixed, no worries. Hello everyone, welcome back. So sorry for all of that. Let's just get started. Today we are talking about a very interesting topic. Today we're going to be talking about how to create compelling case studies for UI UX designers. UI UX design is a field where once you start on this end, we've got a couple of people saying hi. Hello Pallavi, welcome back. Hello Sharonon, welcome back. So my point still being, UI UX design, let's just get to the topic, is a field where it gets extremely difficult, especially when you approach things from the mindset of a UI UX designer, to talk about documentation, to talk about case studies, to talk about all of these issues where you don't know what it is that you're going to write, especially when you've already made the project. So let's just get started from the real start. In the description of this video and also in the live chat, you will find the link to a Google form, which is basically the magic from where all of this starts. What this form does basically is, and I'm going to share my screen for this topic. Let's just really quickly get out of this camera and talk about what's on our screens. So for the live chat, we've basically got for ourselves a form, and the reason this form is so interesting is because it basically guides you through the process of actually making your very own UI UX case study. And because especially when you're in the beginning, you don't know what to do, what the first thing has to be for you to get your case study started. This form goes through a whole entire process where you I'm just going to skip over this part for now, where you basically talk about all of the different aspects that you need to think about when you're starting with your very own case studies. Let's just go to the next section. Alright, so this is where the actual fun starts, and I also have my project that we're going to be talking about pulled up with us. Let's just open our Zentask SaaS app, which was also a super fun build. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I'm hoping from this point on you'll just take on to whatever project you have. So this is an interactive experience. It does require you to have a project ready with you. Open up whatever project it is that you have, and from that point on, we're going to start building up on how you can get started brainstorming case studies. This is going to be an interesting episode. It is a little bit complicated, especially in the beginning, but it does get simpler with time. So I have a basic, let's just get started with what my project does. This is a very simple project which we built out a couple of days ago. This is a SaaS app, and what this does is it basically talks about all of the different, it basically provides you a productivity dashboard, and it has sticky elements. It has a lot of really cool elements as far as design is concerned, but I'm sure you guys have already seen this. It uses a bento grid, it uses colors, and it uses all these very cool things. Now we're operating from a point where, suppose I wanted to design a case study based on this app. What would I do? Let's just get started from that. Hold on a minute, let's just shift the camera and we can get started. So once you start with your app, you're going to get started with what exactly the app name is that you're working with. So the very first thing that you need to start with is the project overview, and we're going to fill this form out, and after your form is done being filled, that is when you're going to start to see the patterns in building out your very own case study. So this is the template I want you to steal from today. Type the name of your app, and all of these become very important, and you'll get a copy of whatever you're filling out here with your email after this form is done being filled. So it just gets super duper interactive. Let's just see what happens when we fill this form. And these are all of the elements that you need to take in consideration when you're getting your own UI design started. Let me just really quickly get started with those. So the very first thing that we're talking about today is our app name, which is Zentasc, of course. The second thing that we're going to be talking about, hold on, let me just pull this up. So this is the app that we built a couple of days ago. It's a SaaS app, and also when you start to build your very own case studies for projects, you operate from a point of what are the different things I need to add, because here's the first thing that goes wrong. Every single time UI designers start building case studies, let me just adjust my camera because we've been getting a couple of issues today. Alright, I think this is as good as this is going to get. Alright, this works. This is fine. Let's just get started from having a project built with us to how do you build a case study for yourself. So this is a form which I want you to steal from the live chat. It's pinned right there, and then you're going to take up your app, and then we're going to start to figure out all of the different things that are a must if you're generating or making your very own case study. So the very first thing, of course, you need to fill. These are the things you just cannot forget, and then we're going to go forward from there to building out actual case studies. The first thing that you need to obviously have is your app name. Rohan asks if Zentasc is a name of a project or a terminology. This is actually the Zentasc dashboard which we built a couple of days ago, a SaaS app. This is a complete SaaS app, and we just built the whole UI design, and it was the most complete episodes we've ever done on this channel. So this is just your project. You can have any one project. Pallavi says, I have only a project which I designed with the help of you. Can I fill that same project? Yes, of course. You can fill any project. This is very general. I just added SaaS here because any software that you SaaS app here, because this is the one I'm filling out, but you can fill out, this is a basic template that works anywhere at all. You can follow along with any project in the whole world, no issues. You can follow along to projects which you've built without me or with someone else. It's just the things that you always need to have in a professional case study for UI UX design. The very first thing that you need to have is a description of the client or the business, of course after the name, because when a hiring manager looks at this, they want to know what and who you built this for, whether this has any actual credentials. If you've built this for yourself, then you're going to just write it as type out practice project, or if you have got the name of a brand, you're going to type out whatever brand it is that you've built it out for. Let's just call this Zentasc Technologies because maybe that's a company that exists. Let's just fill out a couple of details. The next thing you need to always be ready with is your role, and I'm just getting over all of the things that we need to cover all the time, especially in projects like these. Were you a UI designer? Were you a UX designer? You can select multiple roles, and that's going to guide you through the multiple elements you took, the multiple different paths you took in creating your project. You could be a UI designer, you could be a UX designer, you could be a web developer as well, maybe you built this out too. You could be a product designer, and I'm going to simplify what product designer means. Product designer means if you have a project and if you have a product which you made and then you're generating everything around it, you have a website for it. For example, if I built this phone and then I want to have a website for this phone, and then I want to have everything marketing wise for this phone, that would include product designer. The next thing you need to cover obviously is the time frame. What time frame it took for you to make this. Let's just give it 2 weeks, and I'm just being very realistic over here. You can adjust the time limit a little bit considering how far the idea started out, how much time it took. It usually is smart to be very, very real with this time frame, not buff up the numbers, not make them too small, because with everything that you put in your UI UX portfolio, it is going to become very, very clear very, very quickly to people who are experienced the rough time frame that it took you to build this out. So it's usually a good idea not to fluff this up, not to give this a lot of extra time, not to give this a little bit of time. The best advice I can give you is to be as real as possible with the time frame that you're starting out with. The next thing you need to obviously take care of is, was this only built as a website, was this built as a mobile app, and you can just select multiple ones over here. Was this built as a web app? And what a web app is basically, it's a website technically, but it performs specific features that a mobile app would. So is this a web app or is it a PWA? PWA are hybrids, which basically take a website and change the code. So they basically take your website's code and put it in a box. I don't have a box, otherwise I'd show you something like a box. So they take your code, put it in this box, and what this box does is this box just sort of transforms your whole code and changes it into the downloadable code of a mobile app. So it's a very, very hybrid, fun new technology, uses service workers and stuff. So if you have a PWA, if you're familiar with it, you can add a PWA as well. The next thing that you need to take care of is problem statements. Of course, what was the problem statement? Why did you get started with this project? What challenges were you facing? And you need to be as thorough as possible here, not fill up a whole page. Just make sure all of the points that you want to talk about are talked about. So let's just start with that. What is your problem statement here? A productivity brand, and I'm just going to give you a rough highlight. A productivity brand, the first thing you need to add, especially when you're talking about problem statements, is what was the brand, who had the problem. Maybe you had the problem, maybe a friend had a problem, maybe a business had a problem. Who had the problem? A productivity brand, and you just need to have a skeleton, a bare bone skeleton over here. A productivity brand faced the problem of maybe website speed slow. This is a very real concern, and this is something that people get so uncomfortable with. Websites are so slow at points that they order full-blown redesigns, and this is just very real stuff that I've seen happen to me, like happen to other businesses who've reached out to us and stuff like that. So website speed slow, and you can add every single challenge that you'd basically face over here. Productivity brand, website speed slow, and what else could you add here that would indicate a problem? Maybe outdated code could be an option. And you basically take all of these bare bone topics and then sort of try to change them into full-blown sentences. So once you have all of the points that you want to include in your problem statement, and the only reason we're making a form and we're just doing this so focused in manner is because we want to cover every single thing, not leave anything out. I remember I had so many regrets after my first case study because I just left out so much stuff, because when you start to type out a whole document, it just gets extremely boring and you just leave out so much stuff. So a productivity brand, website speed slow, and outdated code could be the things that you want to include in your problem statement. And once you've included those, this is when you can start by changing the text. So productivity brand had a website with slow speed, and then you could just have a complete sentence working over here as well. So productivity brand had a website with slow speed and outdated code. So you're just going to firstly just add all of the things that you need to, and then optionally you can also have a full-blown sentence of describing your problem as a whole. Once you're done with this, this is when Web Dev and Blogging Academy says, hello Veera, hello, welcome back. Today we're talking about building out complete case studies for UI UX designers. The next section that we're taking a look at, again this is a super duper important section, is understanding the user. How well do you understand the user? At its very core, usually we're only looking for two things when we're asking you to understand the user. A, how did you gather these insights? So anything that you tell, before you tell me anything about the user at all, tell me how you gathered these insights. And this is very, very real as far as realism is concerned. You need to have a good idea. Did you do interviews with the users? Did you hold full-blown surveys with a bunch of users? Did you do a competitor analysis? Did you select multiple ones of these? What did you do, or did you do something else altogether? So basically it doesn't have to be, and this is not an exhaustive list, you could have other topics as well, which is why the option of others is given, but basically you have to pick out the exact way you did this. And the reason it is so important is because rough insights without telling anyone how you gathered so much data is A, not very scientific, B, you're not going to be taken seriously if you're not mentioning how you gathered so much data. Because sometimes if I come here and tell you 50% people in the world don't like the taste of food, and then that's just a statement, you won't consider me real, you won't consider this statement specific unless I tell you how I gathered that insight. So this is a very good stamp on how you gather the insight. Do not miss this. The next thing we need to talk about is personas. So after you've talked about how you gather the insights, add a little bit detail on the insights, and then you can just elongate a little bit on that. But gathering insights and making sure you tell the people how you gathered the insights is super important. Next thing we need to talk about is personas. Briefly describe the key personas. Who were the people? What were their... Exactly, that says tell the source to tell the people the source so that they can trust you. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Always make sure there is a source and it's completely visible. The next thing we need to talk about is personas. Personas are skeletons of humans that you create, just rough characters that you create, who you think would be the perfect fit to use your app, what their goals were, what their pain points were, what their frustrations were. And so now I'm going to talking about youth between the ages of 18 and 24 are having a tough time finding good products that, and I'm just spitballing stuff over here, youth between the ages of 20-24, and this is what I mean by personas. You need to be very, very specific with who you're talking. Youth, age, or maybe senior citizens of this and this age were having, not senior citizens for this project of course, but youth were having a really, really tough time finding the right productivity tools. And this is about the users, this is not about your client, this is about the users. Youth were having a problem in deciding what their goals were, in deciding how to schedule all of these complicated tasks, how to get their cards right, how to send people gifts. They were missing their deadlines and having a lot of trouble with reminders and stuff. Or if the user base was already present, what were the problems they were facing? The site was slow to load. You could type whatever you want to over here. The site was slow to load, and also a bunch of other topics. Slow to load. And you can just put down random points over here. It does not have to make complete sense. This is why we're doing this over a form and not an actual website. I won't just say publish this directly to your site, because you need to do a lot of processing beforehand. The site was slow to load, and we're just talking about pain points now. The font size was too small. The fonts were too small, and also the previous list of tools in the productivity platform were not all inclusive, so they were just having one or two of these elements. They did not have times and timers, and they did not have to-do lists. They had to go to a separate place for inboxes. So you can basically write all of your problems at one point in one place. The next thing we're talking about obviously is defining the scope of the problem. What were the key insights from your research? And this is where the next part starts to get so relevant. After you've told someone how you gathered the insights, the next thing you need to talk about is what was the insight that you gathered. So once I've figured out that I took out all of this data from a bunch of people that I surveyed, what was it that I found? And this is where we're going to get detailed with the problem. Up until now we were talking about the people. Now we're talking about the people's problems. What were the key insights from your research? What did you find from your research? I find out that maybe I interview a bunch of 18 to 24 year olds who were users of this app, and I find that they were missing tasks due to the timers not working. And I'm just throwing random things in your direction now. Missing their deadlines because the timer feature did not work when something went wrong in the code. So this is just random stuff. Missing their deadlines due to poorly functioning reminders, and also had to go to a separate place for emails. So productivity also includes your emails and ingoing, outgoing, especially formal interactions. Had to miss meetings due to poorly made inbox. Also we could talk about how they wanted to schedule cards for like assistants and secretaries and friends and every colleague ever, but they couldn't do it in one place. They just had to remember their birthdays or just forget them at all times. So those are a couple of things that you need to think about. And also the next and I'm just bringing things to you now. The next thing we need to talk about is the problem definition. So now you have to summarize the actionable design challenges based on the research. What was the problem that you find that was, and what were the challenges? So you have to basically now take your problem, break it down into a bunch of challenges, which is all on, and we're making all of this story because we've done some research. So after our research of finding out that the people were having this many problems, they were missing their deadlines because their reminders were not working, and they had to miss meetings as their emails inbox was badly integrated. I'm just going to enter this stuff really quickly. So now I apologize for me just not being able to type when I'm speaking. That's just my Achilles heel. The next thing we need to talk about is the problem, and now we're going to break this down. So this is every piece of problem, and of course there are going to be more. This is every single problem that the users told you existed. So the users were missing deadlines, number one, and also because they were not having a good so the users are not having good reminders, and they're not having inboxes. So over here we've processed the ways in which they were missing deadlines. The thing that happens here is people are missing deadlines, A, because their reminders are not working, B, because their inboxes are badly integrated. And now we're going to talk about how you can break these challenges down as a developer, as a designer, what you're going to do, what you're going to integrate, and how you're going to integrate it so that these problems never even happen again. Let's just make this bigger again. This just is such a weird thing. So now you're going to break them down from your point of view. If you are a UI designer who finds out that the inbox is so badly made that you don't know, you can't see one button from one button, people try to click on a lot of buttons, and I know I'm just spitting random stuff here, but people try to have a lot of buttons and the button visibility is not enough. Sometimes things are not visible enough, or if you're a programmer, you're having problems with, there is a specific use case in which the timer does not function. So basically you have to summarize how you're going to break down each of these problems with your skills. Why are you useful as a person, as a professional, in helping solve any of these? It's extremely clear to us that these are the problems that the people are having. Why are you a good professional to solve any of these problems? Why did you, and I know this sounds very raw and very personal, like someone is attacking you, but you want to put forward all of the different versions of the story with which there is a solid wall. Now no one can attack you at a project you've already done. So this is just preparing for that. What do you bring to the table as a professional because of which you are the one required to fix all of these problems, no one else can? Why can a plumber not fix, in the simplest terms, why can a plumber not solve these problems? Why do they require you? What did you do that was good from the technical point of view? Maybe you improved visibility for senior citizens, maybe you, and I know this doesn't make sense anymore, but these are just ideas and you can hone them down to your specific topics. Maybe you improved the visibility for senior citizens, maybe you simplified all of the emails so that maybe here's what happens. People say to you, and this is where the clients, this is where the user's experience and the developer's experience is going to differ very widely. Let's say you are a UI UX designer. Users tell you inbox was badly made, I missed all my deadlines. Developer tells you, I made the inbox, because you are a redesigner now. Developer tells you, I made the inbox, but it didn't have the good colors enough, people didn't see the buttons. Now you have to bridge the gap, and this is where you become usable as a UI UX designers. You improved visibility for maybe some senior citizens, and this is where you get into details of why you are good as a person, why not a plumber. So the developer told you, so the people told you that the inbox was badly made. The people don't know why the inbox was badly made. People are just going to throw stuff at you. This is not the phone that I want. They're not going to tell you why this is not the phone that I want. People are vaguely specific, especially after you start conducting interviews, and this is the best personal advice I can give you ever. So people are weird and not specific at all, and developers are only specific from their point of view. You as a UI UX designer have to think about what these two words are and make sense of these. So now the developer, people tell you inbox is bad, and developer tells you inbox has every single button, but people just don't see it, so people are bad. So people tell you developers are bad, developers tell you people are bad. You tell both of these people and also the interviewer that I came in and talked about, and I'm just typing out random stuff here now, I came in and broke down the UI, gave it the appropriate spacing, gave it the appropriate visibility for office level productivity, so that it is extremely clear where the inbox is, where the reminders are, your deadlines are not getting mixed up anymore. If you want to check out your emails, go here. If you want to check out your timers and reminders, go here. If their emails by other people are getting missing, they can just check those out here. If their reminders by themselves, so reminders are the ones you create for yourselves, are getting missing, you talk about it yourselves. If you want to schedule cards, so you've basically created a very separate visual layout in a world where user can now differentiate what is what, and developer has made all of these functionalities and no one is blaming themselves anymore. So that would be the gist of what you type out. Let's go to the next section. This next section is going to be super fun because we're going to talk about the design process. So now that you've proved yourself useful, worthy as a UI UX designer, this is where we're going to talk about the design process of how we made the whole thing happen. So now that you know the problem that you're supposed to break down, now you're going to ideate on what you decided you're going to make. So let's just say you found out, and I'm taking an example now, people said your dashboard was complicated and it malfunctioned. Developer tells you dashboard had every single feature, people did not know where to click, and developers can be rude sometimes. Developers I say this as a developer, developers tell you I made all the features, but people did not click on the features, people did not look for the features, people are lazy. Now you have to break down 6 different features which are very difficult to break down into one single visual layout, so that everyone knows exactly where everything is. You need to make it so clear that no one can miss it, and this is the end product. So this is actually where we've made all of the good things happen. Now we've actually broken it down as a UI UX designer to an extent where now people can see where the to-do lists are, now they see where their inbox is, now they see where the reminders are. No one in their right minds can ever confuse their emails with their timers now. No one can do that, and that is the idea that you're basically trying to solve. So now you're going to come up with a bunch of ideas to take the developer's narrative, to take the user's narrative, and to bring in your story. So you're going to talk about, you could simplify the features, and these are different ideas. You could enter a couple of right ideas, a couple of ideas that maybe did not make the cut, a couple of wrong ideas, all of the ideas that come to your mind. You could talk about, you could put things in a grid, which we've done in a bento grid, and that would separate 6 different elements at once. That's the simplest way to do it. Separate 6 different features. So I'm just going to put down grids here. You could also put them in a list, but a list would actually just be a very long thing to scroll, and if this was in a scrollable list, and I'm just pointing the flaws with this idea now, if this was in a list, people would have to scroll for a very long time, differentiate. So you have a couple of ideas. You could either do a grid, you could either do a list, and you're putting down all of these. So you could basically just type a grid, a list, or you could also type a drop down. People could also search in a drop down. People would also search in a multiple choice question type. So these are the different brainstorming ideas that you can take. You can expand on these if you want. So you could put all of these things in a grid, you could put all of these things in a list, you could put all the features, basically not all of these things. You could put all of your features in a grid, you could put all of your features in a list, you could put all of your features in a drop down, in a multiple choice question quiz style. So now you're going to decide, and this is the place where you show your work. This is the place where you show the different ideas you went through. Now you're going to break down these ideas into decisions. So this is where you're going to talk about, you took a grid, you took a list, you took a drop down, you took a multiple choice quiz format, and pointed out the errors, the good and the bad of each. So you could now go into a detailed pros and cons about each of these. So now you could, and I'm just going to talk about the pros and cons about each, pros and cons of each. The grid has a couple of pros, has a couple of cons. The list, so let's just talk about the grid first. If you put all of these in a grid, things are going to be visible. People can differentiate where the inbox is, where the reminder is, very separately. If you put these in a, and that's the good point with the grid. The bad point with the grid is, if the grid was, and I'm not talking about this grid, if the grid was made like the tables we make with Microsoft Excel, if the grids were just straight and crossed in just simple grids, it could get even more boring. Just putting this out there. If you were just putting a simple Microsoft Excel style grid, it would just get even more boring. So it could either get so the con of grid is it could get boring. Pros of grid is, if implemented properly, and you can just take the words out of my mouth, type them in your own case study, if done properly, they could very well differentiate where two different features are. Because the problem that people are facing now is, developers make features, people don't understand where the features are, and that's when the nightmare starts to happen. So grids could very, very clearly differentiate where the features are. The next thing we're talking about is a list. What about a list? So let's talk about the pros and cons of a list. If you put things in a list, things are going to be visible in, like, if you have like 6 different features, they could be visible like feature number 1 inbox, feature number 2 to-do list, feature number 3 something else. Things are visible in a very listed format. The cons of grid list is, people have to scroll for a very long time and often can't compare between inbox and reminders and can't pick which is the more appropriate option for them. So basically you would have a really hard time differentiating what is what with a list. And you can also go into a drop down, go into why MCQs are not appropriate. So basically you talk about the pros and cons of each, and then take the story to the conclusion that you want to take it to. So you would try to explain that how only the grid option is the best, most suited ever to perfectly show the different options that are visible, because that was the problem we were facing. Let's go to the next section. Prototyping and testing. What type of prototypes did you create? Now we're talking about getting extremely specific as a UI designer. Now that you know what problems to solve, now that you know the approach to take to solve these problems, now that you know you're making a grid, now that you know you're not making a list, now we're talking about what type of prototypes you created. Did you create low fidelity prototypes? Did you create high fidelity prototypes? And again, these low fidelity prototypes are just rough designs. Maybe you drew them on a paper, maybe you used a wireframing tool. High fidelity prototypes are things like this, where it's so high and so high in quality, basically high fidelity prototypes, that you could basically share them with the client right now and they could visualize what you're talking about. That's the primary difference. Next thing we're talking about is usability testing. What, after you created this design, and now after we're done with this fifth step now starts after you've already created your design. So between the fourth and the fifth step is the point where you create your designs. After you've created, this is the part after you've made the design. What type of prototypes did you create as a professional UI UX designer? And also usability testing. Did you use A/B testing? Did you use user testing? What feedback did you receive? Let's talk about a little bit of testing and we can get into the comment section after this. Alpha beta testing, A/B testing is the testing where alpha or A is the people who have designed the site. Let's say you are a designer and your 3 other friends are the designers. So you're the A of the A/B testing. And then beta testers are the testers who are willing to test your site but are not involved in creating the site. So let's say you built the design along with 4 of your friends and then you sent it to me. Then I'm the beta tester because I was not involved in making a design, but I am here to test and provide feedback. And then there is then alpha beta testers. The thing with alpha beta testers is neither of those are the actual users. They could be very similar to the users, but they are not the users the whole site is designed for. And then there is another kind of testing which is called user testing, which is exactly what it sounds like. You send it over to the real user, they test it out and tell you what feedback they did. So this is where you're going to type exactly what the different people told you. Just summarize that very quickly. While we're just talking about that, let's just get into the comments really quickly. Web dev. Alright, Sunny Valuri said, I'm new to this channel. I'm doing a 3-month UI UX course. Now I'm designing the UI of my app. That is a perfect use case to following this template. If you want to follow along, just click on the link and that's where you're going to find this form. Pull up your actual project and that's how you're going to sort of figure out your actual project as well. Let's just hold on a minute. Let me just check out my mic because something is clearly up with it. I hope it's functioning better now. And that's where I want to find this form. Does this work? I think it does. Alright, let's just go back, and I know the mic has been causing us a lot of issues. It's a really old mic. I'm trying to get this fixed as soon as I possibly can. Let's just a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. I'll get this fixed. Alright, the next thing we're talking about is iterations. Describe any changes you made after testing. So this is where we're going to talk about all of the different changes you made after testing. After your alpha tests were done, after your beta tests were done. Alpha test is you doing the test, the creator. Beta test is me doing the test, the non-creator. And user test is the test done by the actual user. After all of these three tests have been done, or any one of these, what are the changes that you made in parallel to the feedback that was given to you? After taking the feedback, this feedback, what did you do differently? Were there any things that you did differently? Were you very, very appropriate? Just type that out really, really quickly. And after this, you're going to have a screenshot of the visual design you made. So I'm just going to take a screenshot of this really, really quickly and upload it as a file. And that's just me. You could just go to your snipping tool and just provide a really, really quick screenshot. There isn't even a need to send this to like anybody. You can just have all of these in one single place, and that's the reason we're sort of trying to create this. Let's just open this up in our files. And where do you open it up in our files? Open the screenshot folder, and oh, hold on a minute, I'm just trying to fill this form out as appropriately as possible. And now I'm just going to drag it and place it right. Oops, I think I messed up. I'm going to go back. Next. Let's talk about the comment section really, really quickly. Hold on a minute, I just backed the whole thing like a messed up person. Let's just go to the next section. Alright, so we were at section 6. Let's just add the file that we need to. Let's just drag this file and place this right here. And the only reason we're doing this is because we want to have at least one screenshot of the final design, the stuff that you're actually very proud of. If you can also include the screenshot of another file, if it was, you can provide a screenshot of both of them, or like put them in like a collage. I would suggest putting your previous design which you redesigned from someone else's design, could be fine as well, and your current design, put them in a collage and share it. Maybe don't submit the form, but this is so that everything gets documented in one place. The next thing we're talking about is your design system. If you developed a design system or a design component system where all of and you sort of published it to like Figma design systems or something like that, you can share that as well, but this is quite optional, and I doubt if UI designers in the beginning would especially do this. If you're doing this for a big company, maybe they have design systems set in place and you have to follow them, so you have to include details of that. And we're just including the stuff that we need for ourselves right here, right now. Pyle says, hi Veera, how do we decide that we have to include every feedback from the user or not? Because multiple users would have different feedback which might not always be feasible. Then how do we decide? A, take the feedback from 10 different users, find out a common factor in most of the users. So then you can have maybe 7 of the users of 10 said that they missed their deadlines. They still didn't think it was a good design, the colors were too bad for them. Maybe they will tell you random things that are quite abrupt sometimes, but you have to find common factors and then type out stuff like most people said this, most people said that. Let's just talk about the results now. Impact on user experience or business. After you were done giving the people your design, after you were done developing your design, what were the measurable results? Was it user retention? Was it conversion rate improvements? What was the measurable result that people could check out through like an analytics tool or something? What was the result that people noticed? Did they notice that their sales increased by, and I love the fact that we can add sales over here. Sales increased by 20% above what they were already making from the last quarter, something like that. Sales increased, audience retention increased. This is also very important. Audience retention to their site is some reasons why they'd call you. People's click-through rate, something like that, increased. So you're going to talk about what the improvements were that people increased. You don't have to use very, very cliche or very, very specific words either. You can just type out the company said a lot more people will use. You can just have a system, have a sentence in your mind. A lot of people started using it, and then you can think about how many more people started using it. So you just have to talk about the measurable results. Was it the user retention that increased? Was it the conversion rate? Conversion rate is if 5 people come to the site, one of them converts and becomes your full-time client. That's a conversion rate. So you just have to go into all of these examples and figure it out. yourself, ask your client what was it that happened better for them. Was it aesthetically more pleasing? Were more people staying on their site? This is very, very business based, statistic based as a value. Let's go to the next section. Quantitative and qualitative data. You have to provide both numerical results and feedback from users or stakeholders. Both of these things are extremely important. Both of these things have their own way of mattering. Maybe sales increased by you, so here is where users became happier, or you could have all of these things present here. So users were happier as well, and also then sales increased by 20% as well. You could just put both of those things here, but this is the section now where you have to separate those out. So you have to make a list of, say, qualitative, and then talk about quantitative is the quantity, which means quantitative is the numbers. For example, 20% increase in sales, 30% increase in conversion rate improvements, 30% increase rate in users that were staying until the footer end. So that's another statistic. And qualitative results are going to be happiness of the client, happiness of the user. People were more happy to look at this page as compared to some weird Excel grid. So if I gave you like a Microsoft Excel page screenshot, and if I gave you this grid, people would be happier looking at this grid. So people were happier, client was happier, client just, and you don't have to include specific numbers in the qualitative side. People's quality of life increased, or they were not missing, not quality of life, they were not missing their deadlines anymore. People were happier with our new product. You just have to put in random lines like that. And the next thing we're talking about is the final page. Actually, congratulations if you've made it this far. Mention any significant challenges and how you overcame them. This is the part called key takeaways, and this is going to be the most important part if you're going for an interview. If you're going for an interview, a new company wants to know what the challenges were that you faced, not what the challenges were that the company or your client faced. Those were already covered up until now. This is the point where we're talking about what were the challenges you faced as a designer, because now they're thinking about taking you in. So this is the key takeaways from the first challenge. The first question is about you. What were the challenges you faced? What were the things that you overcame? And this is very, very personal, so you can just take some time, think about it, write what you figured out. What were the lessons that you learned? So maybe you faced the challenges that colors, no matter how hard you tried, never had the correct level of contrast in reading and stuff like that. So contrast ratios or any padding or any designer skill that you didn't know very well, which may be increased. And the next thing is very, very closely tied to that, lessons learned. What was it that you learned? What was it that you thought was previously true that you figured isn't true anymore? What was it that you realized is actually a fact? What was the lesson you learned out of building this project? How have you grown as a designer? And the next step is quite optional. What improvements or next steps could be taken after this project? And this applies both for you as a designer and also for the brand. And this is a very, very broad question. What was the improvements? What are the further improvements that you could add to this design, either from the point of view of the client, like what are the other things that the client would like, what are the other things that you would like to add here that just make your life a whole lot easier. So off the top of my head, you could add maybe a section for something else, maybe a section for a combined calendar. Combined calendar could be added as an icon or as a section here, which could talk about scheduling everything regardless of where it is, differentiating it by the background color. So if there could be one single calendar which could talk about all of your meetings, all of your reminders, all of your to-do list, task dates, all of the birthday cards that you're supposed to send, if there's just one single calendar for that, that would improve people's lives by a whole lot. These are the steps which you didn't get to implement. This happens very, very often. These are some things that you didn't get to implement, or you realized at the end of it could be a good addition, but before the contract is made with the client, usually there is a set of scope of demands which is always applied until the end. So what are the things that for any logistical, money, or maybe knowledge reason didn't happen now which you would want to happen? What is an improvement that happened that you would want to be taken after this? And after this is where the fun stuff happens. You're going to submit this form. So I'm just going to select all of the crosswalks now. God, I can't do it thinks I'm a robot. I might be a robot. Let's just get this filled out and we'll read out a couple of questions as well. Sunny says, do you recommend the book Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman for people who wish to pursue UI UX design as a career? I believe for UI UX design, you don't need to have any books knowledge at all. Like, I did not read one single book related to UI UX design. I ended up fine. The only thing you need very practically is practical experience, which happens with these 100 days of UI design challenges that we're doing on this channel. We have actually made on the playlist section of the today's on this channel, we have made 3 different playlists, actually 4 of them. If you're an entry level designer, there are a couple of things that you need to take a look at. You have like 15 videos there. If you're a mid-level designer, you can take a look at like whatever your current promotion level is, whatever you're aiming for, you could do like 20 projects there. If you're an advanced designer, we've got like 15 advanced tutorials for you by now, and so you can just basically go to the playlists of this channel, check those out. There is a portfolio, there is a like a full 10-part series on freelancers only. So if you're thinking of becoming a freelancer, we've got a couple of projects for that. I would recommend going to the playlist section of this channel, and there is like full responsive sites build as well, which is sites that work for every device size, screen size possible. So you just have to explore. If you're thinking about exploring stuff, which I always appreciate, go and check out the playlists on this channel. Go and check out the different categories of things you can do. Go and Google search the stuff we've done there to find other topics that you like, and then maybe try to include that in your own portfolio. That's much more beneficial. Payal Hora says, for redesigning, how do we measure results if in case it's not a business project? How do you do it? Alright, for redesigns, let's say I take the website of Google Forms. I say I take this Google Forms site and I decide to redesign it. There are 2 different ways to approach this problem. Let's say I go to the site of Google Forms. Hold on a minute. I'm going to go to Google Forms, and I'm going to show you what my practical approach to this would be. Let's say the site is of Google Forms. In fact, it's taking a long time to load. Alright, now I become the user. When I've taken my site that I'm going to redesign to be the Google Forms site, I am now the user. So I'm going to talk about my pain points. I'm going to cast myself as the persona. I'm going to talk about all of the things that could be improved, pain points, challenges, frustrations. I could also, since Google, and if you're redesigning popular sites, sometimes there is like a million people who are also using the site. I could go to a friend who may or may not be a UI designer. They may not be. In fact, it's quite preferable if they're not. Like 10 different people who are not using Google Forms, who are actually using Google Forms, maybe not UI designers, talk about why they find forms irritating, what things they would want improved. And believe me, in the real world, if you go ask people what they'd want more, what they want increased, what they want better, what is frustrating, you will find so many complaints that you could fill your and 100 other portfolios. So I don't think there's a shortage of problems. You could take the site of google.com, facebook.com, instagram.com, ask 100 different people what their 100 different problems are. You will find common patterns, and that's the stuff you put in your site. Also, you could cast yourself as the user persona, of course. One important thing to mention here is, you could, in the Discord group today, after just watching this whole tutorial, whenever you're watching this, think about the sites you want to redesign. Think about the site that you are redesigning. Think about the site that you already redesigned. Share with us the link. Tell us if you want to find the common problems, and we'll all, as a community, because we're getting pretty large there as well, on the Discord group, which is in the description, you could join us. Tell us the sites you're thinking about redesigning, and we'll, as a community, not just me, not just one other designer, we'll, as a combined community, talk about all of the different problems we're facing, and then you can use them in your own case studies. Other people can use their own sites in their own case studies. We can all review those together as a team. That is also a very good resource if you're thinking about those problems. Pallavi says, can you tell something about UX only? Yes, UX. I get so happy when someone asks me these topics, and I can just go on about these for a whole day. UX design, user experience design, is very different from UI design. UI design talks about the colors and the fun stuff. In fact, I've pulled up a UI in front of me right now. Would you like to see a UX design? I think you would. I'm going to talk about a UX design now. Hold on, I'm going to show you a UX design. Holy, this is a very old one. Don't judge me if you don't like it. I'm going to show you UX design. Let's see all results. Please come up. Alright, this is something I'm talking about. UI design talks about colors and bright stuff we've been making for the last couple of days. This is a very rough UX design that was later increased. So if you like take out all of the colors from this equation, I'm just going to hide all of the colors now because that gets irritating. This is a UX wireframe. At its very core, it talks about that where the icon is going to go, where your navigation links are, where maybe your menu icon is going to go, and this could be the previous site or this could be the next site. So you could just take a previous site, think about building a new version, think about where your button, if your button was here and the people did not like it, you could take your button, place it over here. So UX design breaks things down to a skeletal level, wireframes, prototyping and stuff like that, and tries to solve problems that way. So for example, if I had a list of 3 different things first, now I have taken to UX design as a field, broken it down into 3 various different cards, and this improves my user experience, UX. And after I'm done with this wireframe, this is a wireframe, you can, after you're done with this wireframe, you can actually add color to this. This color is actually technically UI, and you can improve the color schemes and stuff like that. So this, the very, very bare bones thing that I'm showing you, is actually the UX. This now wireframe and stuff is the user experience, which I've changed around a whole lot. We'll make a video on this completely at some point. This is a complete UI, which is the actual interface that people are going to be using. At that point, we were thinking about the experience that could be increased for the users. This is where we are improving the interface. So I hope that is a clear distinction. We could go into detail on a very, very long video, but if I continue that, I'm going to be on that path for like 30 minutes now, so I'm just going to stop. Mail says, what is your recommendation for someone like me who has 2 years of experience wanting to pivot from service-based MNCs to product-based companies? What should my portfolio consist of? If you want to go to Canada, rough example. If you want to, let's say, and this is a very, very fun thing. If you want to take a US citizenship, you have to study for their citizenship test, which is complete, and understand the metaphor here. I'm talking about a huge topic. If you want to take a US country citizenship, you have to take their test, which has like how many flags are there in the US flag, and how many stars are there in the US flag, how many presidents are there, what is what. So if you want to go to US, you're going and settle there as a native, as a citizen, you have to take the US citizenship test. If you want to qualify for companies which are product based, you have to create a portfolio which is placing products at the center as opposed to services. So I believe this is a product, this is a software product which basically makes the user's lives more productive. This would be actually a good tutorial to follow. We have a video on how to make this whole Zentask. You could find the same exact thumbnail in the, you could find this exact design in the thumbnail. You could follow along to this build, you could follow along to a lot of builds in UI UX design, and we have a ton of those in the channel as well. You can talk about products, you can look into all of our catalogs, the 100 days of UI design live stream which we've done. This is day 30, by the way. You could look through the whole thing, check out a couple of product based UI designs. Try to copy of those, inspire yourself of those, build off those designs, which I don't have a problem with. Take any of my designs on YouTube, build them out, put them in your portfolio. Have a portfolio that is solely focused on products and not services. If your portfolio is focused on products, you're going to get in with the good graces of the product companies. If your portfolio has many services, you're going to get into the good graces in the interviews and stuff of your services companies. If you already know where you're going, change your portfolio according to what you're building. So that's my simplest answer. I hope that makes things clear. Pallavi says, please have a session on UX too. Of course, I will very soon. In fact, this is day 30. We've been doing this for a whole month, which is why we wanted to do I wanted to do like a whole case study thing, and that worked out fun as well. Pallavi says, please make a session on working as a freelancer in UI UX design. Freelancer playlist is available now. I just made it yesterday, so I'm pretty proud of it. You can check it out for all of the projects. If you're beginning to get into the field of freelancing, those are like 8 to 10 different projects which you can build out live with us, and that's going to hopefully get you on a fast track path to enhancing your portfolio as a freelancer. Like I advised another person about product based portfolio, you could have a freelancer portfolio as well. Check out that playlist, perfect for you. Everything you see asks, at what time do your classes start every day? 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time is our class for reviewing awesome sites, talking about awesome effects. 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time is our class, this one, about building out actual things in UI UX design, including awesome designs every single day. And today it's a special episode, so we're doing this case study build. Payal says, I have shared my first case study which I completed a few months back on the Discord server. Looking forward to feedback. Of course, we're going to review all of your stuffs. I could make a perfect video on reviewing all of your things as well. That would be a hot topic. Raj says, how to get freelance clients. I'll make a complete video on it. The short answer could be the online websites that work like Upwork and Fiverr, but in practicality, it's actually very hard to do, especially for like Upwork and Freelancer. They are quite difficult to like get into Upwork, Freelancer, Fiverr to establish yourself. It's actually not a very good thing because it's a race to the bottom. Whoever does the site for the least amount of money gets those jobs there, and whoever has been there the longest, it's quite difficult to get into as a beginner. But we could make a full video talking about freelance clients. Pallavi says, Didi, you have told us about building the portfolio design. Can we join the Discord link? Portfolio design is already the 5th video on this live series. You could check that out from the channel. Yes, if you want, you know what, this is the perfect link. Wait up, I'm going to give you a gift as I go today. I have to give you a gift now, because I just built this out today evening and I have to share this with you. Do not go. This is the best thing that ever happened on this stream. If you are interested in launching your own portfolio website, because the design, UI UX design is already done. If you're interested in launching your own portfolio website, we have a form now which basically gives you the opportunity. I'm going to just paste this in the chat now. You could fill this form out, and this is going to tell us how many people are basically interested in this masterclass. So I just built this out today, didn't share it with anyone either. You can just fill this out. The masterclass happens for Indian rupees 492. The previous date it happened, the last time this happened was on 20th, so 4 days ago. That was a super hit session. It already happened. If you all are interested in building your own and launching your own now portfolio website now, because it is based on the day 5 UI design, you can check out the UI design first, and then now that I've shared this, we'll get a lot of responses. As soon as we get the first batch of 5, we'll make a session happen in the live stream without, like, it doesn't have YouTube and stuff, so it's a real world live session. And for every group of 5 that we get here, we'll start to have those series as well. Those will go on continuously. So just fill out this form, Pallavi, and you can just sign up right here. And as soon as we get 5 people, which I'm pretty sure we will get very, very soon, we will get started on the masterclass. And that is a masterclass which is available to you for like a whole year. The recording is available to you online, and also it's available to you forever if you download the whole thing. With an intimate group of only 4 other designers other than you can ask your questions, build a live website, and individual attention can be paid to your journey of building a portfolio website. Already got a response, which means we're very, very, very soon on our path to just launching this whole website series. Very, very soon we're going to do this masterclass. Make sure to join in, fill this form, it's right there in the description. I will see you the next time we do this. If you guys have any questions related to UI design, UX design, just put them in the comment section really, really quickly, because why not? I was thinking before I go, I was thinking of, like, hold on a minute, I could just make myself bigger. Here we go. I was thinking about doing a whole week, or at least like 5 days, talking about freelancer contracts, talking about the legal stuff that you need to place in your portfolio website, terms of service, privacy policy, and all of that other cool stuff. So we could do a series on legal stuff and contracts as freelancers, how to find freelance clients. Would you like to see it in the upcoming days? And I'm talking tomorrow, I'm talking day after tomorrow, this week. Just type yes in the chat and we can have one of those really, really cool documentation kind of series here as well. Again, if you guys have any questions. Payal says yes, let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. We've got a couple of other yeses as well. From tomorrow, and I think tomorrow we're going to talk about freelance contracts. So tomorrow's topic is freelancers and how you make your very own contracts, because this happened to me a long time ago when I started freelancing. I built out a whole logo, like 4 different variations of the same logo, gave it to a group of people who were doing something related to tech, and I also built the first site, Hackit. If you've seen my reviewing my old projects video, day 9. So I built out a site and built out a logo for 2 different clients, did not have a contract in place, lost both of those without any money. They ended up using it. I was an idiot, used to be, not anymore. I have contracts and all of the legal stuff in place now. I am not a lawyer, but they have worked, these contracts that I'm talking about have worked well for me so far. I'm going to share this with you and tomorrow, and Ankush says yes, Pallavi says yes, Payal says yes. So with that said, tomorrow we're having freelance contracts, complete masterclass right here, and we're going to talk about everything you need to know, and we're also might give you, like, we will give you the template to your own first freelance contract, so that you're not in trouble most of the times. I am not a lawyer, not going to guarantee all of the times, because no one guaranteed that to me as well, but it has played out pretty well for me so far. So I'm going to share my contract that I share with clients now. Also, we have a question. Bhargav says, I am a developer, can we work together? Bhargav, I am a developer as well. Cheers on the being developers front. In fact, I'm thinking about getting like a whole project and stuff that we can build out together. It's actually we're planning a project which we can build out as a community. Have a couple of people, have a team lead, have a whole group of developers, designers, and stuff like that. It's actually a SaaS app educational game UI. It's a complicated concept. We will do it very soon. All of you UI designers in the group will build this out together, and that's going to be quite interactive as well. This has been one of the best live streams we've ever done. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you extremely soon. Until then, take care and keep designing. I will see you tomorrow evening and also at 8 p.m. tomorrow about freelance contracts. Until then, bye, good night, be safe, and